Hi. Today we're going to learn how to solve challenging chemical equations when you're trying to balance them. In particular, one of the challenges students run into is when you have elements in 3 or more places in the reaction. So for instance, in this reaction here, we have a carbon in 2 places, one before the reaction, one afterwards. We also have hydrogen in 2 places, one before the reaction, one afterwards. When an element's in 2 places, it's usually not too challenging to figure out how to balance it. But then sometimes you have elements in 3 places, like the oxygen. We have oxygen here, here, and here. When an element's in 3 places, it's much more challenging to figure out how to balance it because there are many different combinations that will work. So, the strategy I suggest when you encounter an element in 3 or more places is to save it for the end and do all the easier elements first. So in this case, I have oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. I already saw that the carbon and hydrogen are in only 2 spots, and the oxygen's in 3, so I'm going to save the oxygen for last. So let's start by looking at the carbons. I have 1 carbon here and 1 carbon there. 1 carbon before the reaction, 1 carbon afterwards. We're good. For hydrogens, I have 4 hydrogens before the reaction, 2 hydrogens after the reaction. Well, in order to balance that, I must make another copy of H2O. So now my hydrogens are balanced. And finally, now it's time to look at the oxygens. Now, before the reaction, I have 2 oxygen atoms, and after the reaction, I have a grand total of 4. 2 over here, plus another 2. So, to make these equal, I know I need to get another 2 oxygen atoms before the reaction, which means making another copy of the O2 molecule. So now my oxygens are balanced. I've got a grand total of 4 before the reaction and a grand total of 4 after the reaction. Finally, it's time to double check. I've got 1 carbon before, 1 carbon after. Check. I've got 4 hydrogens before, 4 hydrogens after. Check. And I've got 4 oxygens before and 4 oxygens afterwards. Check. So the key is, whenever you have an element in 3 or more places, you always want to save it for the end and balance the other elements first. And last but not least, let's fill in those coefficients. I have 2 sets of O2, 1 set of CH4, 1 set of CO2, and 2 sets of H2O. So my coefficients would be 2, 1, 1, 2.